In 2014, Paul George suffered one of the most horrific leg injuries in the NBA history, but his road to recovery is nothing short of amazing. We're gonna explore how Paul defied the odds to become an MVP caliber player after the injury that could have ended his career. His will to come back stronger from the devastating moment is truly an inspiration. Stick around to the end where we reveal shocking stats showing Paul is now actually better than before shattering his leg. In 2014, Paul George was an NBA All-Star on the rise, averaging 21 points per game as the franchise cornerstone for the Indiana Pacers. But during a Team USA scrimmage, George landed awkwardly attempting to block James Harden. His leg violently snapped as he crashed to the floor. This injury was one of the most gruesome the NBA had ever witnessed. George's bone protruded through the skin as he laid motionless. Players and fans openly wept seeing the severity of the compound fracture. It was a potential career ender, but after emergency surgery and enduring a grueling rehab, George returned to the NBA action just 8 months later, determined to prove he could still compete at an elite level. Critics reasonably wondered if he could ever be the same dynamic player though. Against the odds, George found his footing again in Indiana, making back-to-back All-Star teams. But seeking a fresh start in 2017, he requested a trade to the Thunder, forming a new star duo with Russell Westbrook. With MVP Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant dominating the league with the Warriors, George gave OKC real hope of contending, and he delivered, finishing third in MVP voting in 2019, averaging career highs of 28 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists and 2 steals per game while excelling on both ends as an elite two-way wing. But playoff disappointment and Westbrook's shoot-first style eventually drove George to orchestrate another move. This time he returned home to LA, teaming up with Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard on the formidable Clippers in 2019. Together they've established the Clippers as perennial contenders, and individually a healthy PG-13 is better than ever, averaging 24 PPG over the past 2 seasons, even higher than his pre-injury numbers. Nearly a decade later, Paul George is still an elite two-way wing playing at an all-NBA level who can take over games at a moment's notice. He's a lethal shooter, lockdown perimeter defender, and crafty playmaker all rolled into one. His injury could have derailed a promising career, but George's perseverance and passion to keep evolving is a testament to the human spirit. He embodies the heart of a true competitor, determined to shock the world no matter the odds or obstacles in his way. The night that changed everything, George's injury. It was a Team USA scrimmage in the summer of 2014. George stole a pass prompting a fast break in transition. Racing down court, he went up looking for a chase down block on an unsuspecting James Harden, a play he had likely made hundreds of times before. But this time things went horribly wrong. George landed awkwardly on the stanchion and the entire right side of his body crashed down violently, snapping his leg in half at a gruesome angle. On the slow motion replay, you can hear the bones and tissue catastrophically giving way. It was an unnatural and sickening sight that no one will ever forget. Paul George heroically returns to All-Star form. The aftermath was touch and go. George underwent surgery to have a steel rod stabilizing his demolished leg. Bedridden for weeks and confined to a wheelchair and crutches for months, his future playing career was very much in doubt. NBA players and fans everywhere worried his best days were already behind him before ever hitting his prime. But George courageously attacked his rehab program despite excruciating pain that left him drained both physically and emotionally, and working relentlessly to build his body. George managed to return to action in under a year, a remarkable recovery timeline for such a traumatic injury. Clearly, he wasn't quite the same freakish athlete initially. George understandably struggled regaining lateral mobility on defense and explosiveness attacking the rim. His efficiency and shooting splits took a noticeable dip those first few seasons back as critics questioned if his best days were firmly behind him. However, through dedication and determination, Paul George proved his naysayers wrong. He evolved his game, focusing more on perimeter shooting while adapting ways to exploit defenses with craft and skill. After a brief stint flanking Westbrook in OKC, George took the league by storm since joining Kawhi in LA, cementing his place among the NBA's truly elite players once again. Proof of George's comeback in the stats. If the eye test doesn't convince you of George's incredible comeback, just take a look at the stats. From 2012/24 before this gruesome injury, George averaged 19.5 points, 7.3 rebounds, 4.4 assists per 75 possessions on 42/36/85 shooting splits. Since fully regaining form, George has averaged 26.5 points, 7.4 rebounds, 5.1 assists per 75 on 45/41/86 shooting splits over the past 3 seasons with the Clippers. George's stats now compare favorably, if not exceed his pre-injury numbers across the board. He proved all the skeptics wrong who said he would never reclaim past glory. After nearly a decade, his inspired comeback story adds another special chapter each passing season. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Paul George embodies the fiery competitive spirit of an elite basketball player who can overcome even the most devastating adversity through hard work and belief in oneself. Paul George's inspirational journey from brink of tragedy to comeback stardom. Many suspected Paul George would never be the same high-flying, explosive two-way demon on the perimeter that once made him an MVP candidate after the injury. But his incredible will and work ethic to persevere through grueling rehab and evolve as a player is what separates the great ones from those who fade into the night. Yes, the odds were stacked against George ever returning to his past peaks after such a devastating leg fracture that nearly infected his entire career. The recovery road was long, filled with searing pain, emotional anguish, self-doubt, soul-searching and obstacles from every angle. Most expected George would become a role player at best as the league moved on spotlighting a new cast of rising stars. But that only ignited an even deeper fire within PG-13 to keep working and keep proving everyone wrong, telling him he would never be able to compete the same again. And here he is, in 2023, 8 years after being carted off on a stretcher to crowds, shaken by one of basketball's most horrific injuries, standing tall as an MVP frontrunner, vying to bring the Clippers franchise its first ever championship. Many wrote George off for dead, but like a phoenix rising, he was reborn anew to reclaim his status among the elite. He doesn't have the unprecedented athleticism from his early Indiana days, but through an ever-expanding skill set and never backing down from a challenge, Paul George embodies what true perseverance and passion looks like. A testament to overcoming adversity. George could have crumbled under expectations after that injury ruining his prime. It would have been easy for him to fade into the periphery rather than undertake a long grinding fight back to prominence, especially after already signing his first max contract. But that's not who Paul George is. He lives for those tough moments, and if anything, that injury fueled his drive over 10 times to keep evolving and perfecting his craft to once again stand eye to eye with the best players on earth. He remade himself into a sniper from beyond the arc while sharpening an already elite defense IQ. And after a turbulent yet productive stint alongside Westbrook in Oklahoma City, the stars aligned, bringing PG-13 back to his LA roots alongside Kawhi Leonard and an ever-growing cast of elite talent with the Clippers. Teaming up with Leonard, George regained his health and revitalized his stardom during LA's colorful run to the Western Conference Finals. And now more recently, with spark plugs like Russell Westbrook and new addition James Harden added into the Phoenix mix, the Clippers seem destined to reshape the league's hierarchy for years to come. With Paul George helping lead the charge every step of the way. That was never supposed to happen though, at least not to this degree. Not many players could transform tragedy into triumph like George did after nearly losing his career in an instant. But through his sheer force of will and determination to keep shocking the world, Paul George has cemented his name in history as an inspiration and timeless example that no obstacle is too large to overcome if you have the perseverance and passion to see it through. So if you were as moved and inspired to learn about Paul George's incredible journey battling back from tragedy, be sure to smash that like button and click subscribe to join for more undiscovered sports stories showcasing the true greatness of the human spirit. Let us know in the comments if any other basketball comeback story has blown your mind like Paul George's. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.